Ciao.
You can see even more details on respiratory rate in the Health app. Now I'd like to turn it over to Julie.
Did it all?
I think you did, actually. Honestly think you did. Although we could have left the air purifiers running because then we could change the name of the show. You're listening to Clearing the Air with Jeff Gamet.
Oh, see, that's brilliant.
I'm Jeff's co-host, Ken Ray. Jeff Gamet, as people can probably figure out based on that fake introduction to the fake podcast. Although really is any podcast a fake podcast? I feel like any title we come up with is just 5 minutes away from becoming an actual show.
They're all real shows. Either they've already started or they're about to.
Right. Yes. And if a tree falls in the forest and there's no podcast about it,
then it's just a fail.
It's just a chance for another podcast, sounds like to me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So see if you agree with me on this. One of the joys of the past 5, nearly 6 years now of watching these presentations is seeing how much more comfortable Kevin Lynch has gotten.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
It is. I hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah. I don't know why I think about it, but I think about it every time because it used to be he came up and I was like, man, there is a sore thumb on the stage right there. And then over the past few years, what's interesting is his showmanship hasn't gotten showy. Like he's not Craig Federighi at this point. He's not, I don't know. Was Tim Cook even at the keynote this year? I'm not sure.
He was. He did the intro and the outro. He
was talking to the cartoon people.
It was like, hey, everyone, welcome and goodbye. Yeah,
exactly. That was pretty much it. Yeah. So he's not showy. He's not flashy. He's just, he comes in, he talks about Apple Watch, he leaves, but he's gotten infinitely more comfortable. Now, that said, I do have a question about the little bit of time that Kevin Lynch spent on stage.
Okay.
He says that the photo watch face is the most popular watch face. Is he lying?
Actually, I'm inclined to believe him.
Really?
Based on the number of people I know who they have a picture, a loved one,
really,
a pet.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I have never done that.
I'm surprised how many people I see with those watch faces.
I take it back. I have done that one time. A friend of mine made some L-Cars looking watch faces with places for, I think, one complication and the time. And I have used that a few times, but mostly I just want more complications, which means if I ever put a photo on there, it's going to have to be of an X. Hello! Because complications, you see, on the watch face. Thank you. 2 shows nightly.
I see what you did there. Well played, Ken.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. So it was about an hour and 45 minutes of stuff. I don't know what day it is as you and I talk. As you and I talk, I know what day it is. As people hear us, I don't know what day it is. I think this is going to be Wednesday's show. So we will have had more time to digest everything that we saw at the keynote. Right now, though, I'm pretty much where I was last year. The keynote ended, my head started spinning, and it has not stopped yet. I'm curious what the things are that stood out to you. Is there anything that made you truly excited? Is there anything you were disappointed by, like the lack of a new Mac, for example? I'm not saying. Talk to me about first impressions.
Okay, the lack of a new Mac, I know a lot of people are disappointed. I was not surprised that we did not see hardware at the event today.
I'm going to stop you right there. I believe it was less than a week ago that Jeff Gamet said, what people need to understand about the WWDC keynote is it is as much for the consumers and for the press as it is for developers. How are you not surprised that there was not a new Mac, especially as we continue the transition to the Apple Silicon for the whole Mac line?
I think it's because Apple needs to have an updated processor that's in the works, of course, and we'll see that in a few months.
Okay.
And what I mean specifically is the current M processor, the M1, that's in the Mac Mini, MacBook Air, and iMac, that has only 2 I/O buses for peripherals.
Okay.
And what Apple really, really needs for a proper upgrade to the MacBook Pro line is to at least double the number of I/O buses for peripherals. And that means a different chip. So that chip is coming, I believe, later this year. And then we'll see like crazy, stupid, fast MacBook Pro. And considering how aggressive Apple is moving, we could see an M series Mac Pro as well. Mm-hmm. But unless Apple had hardware that they could announce today that they felt was going to offer something significant for developers, there wasn't going to be a new Mac announcement today.
See, what's interesting is I have a friend who would be more than happy to buy a 16-inch M1. In fact, he keeps holding off because he keeps expecting a 16-inch M1. And he is a developer. He is a creator. Not only is he a developer, he actually does some video stuff as well. But he would be happy with that. Mostly what he wants is the larger real estate. He would accept the speeds that they're giving him right now with the M1. He just wants the bigger real estate for it. And they keep denying him. Now, he'd probably be happy if it was an M2. Let me ask you one other question really quickly, and then I actually do want to talk about what they actually talked about at the show.
Okay.
Have we been spoiled by the fact that 1 year there was an A12, and then the next year there was an A13, and then the year after that there was an A14? I was going to say, shouldn't we be expecting an M1 at this point? But as I'm asking the question, I realize we didn't get the M1 until October or November. Consumers didn't. We heard about it, but we didn't get it. So, all right, I'm back on board. I rescind my question.
Okay. Right. And just so you know, I fully expect that at some point during our conversation, you will be throwing back in my face something that I said last week.
Well, I look forward to that. I thought I already had those, so if you're saying I'm going to do it again.
Something else. There will be more. All right. That's just how it goes.
Well, I'm sorry if I have that reputation.
No, I think it's me.
All right. So what made you happy? What did you see that you got really excited by?
I got really excited by the fact that we saw a lot of stuff where people were going, this is boring. Okay, now, the reason that made me happy wasn't because I was like, ha ha, Apple just burned you by giving boring features. It's because Apple was focusing more on refining and improving and fixing than just stacking us up with a lot of new flashy features, while leaving all of these things that needed to have a little bit more just sitting there languishing, and they didn't do that. And I thought that was really awesome.
Can I run something past you really quickly?
Sure.
Because as people hear this has already happened, but as you and I talk, I'm about 26 hours away from presenting at the Austin Mac Users Group. So if anybody is listening now who was at that presentation, forgive me because this is going to be repetitive, but right now I'm going to woodshed what I'm going to say tomorrow with Jeff, because you just hit on something. I'm curious what you think of this. In yesterday's announcement, which of course is today, but it's a few days ago now, whatever. Forget the time thing. I love that our
time is not linear.
I know, it's insane. Awesome. I feel like Billy Pilgrim.
Yeah.
He got unstuck in time. I don't know if you know that about him. They wrote a book. All right. So a couple of things left to mind as I was watching the WWDC keynote. iPhones in the past have had release cycles and S cycles. iPhone 4 brought big changes. iPhone 4S refined. iPhone 5 brought big changes. iPhone 5S refined. The WWDC 21 keynote had a bit of that feel for me. We changed maps in a big way a few years ago. We're refining maps. We've been staunch in our support of privacy and security. We're refining our approach to privacy and security. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I found myself thinking after the presentation, there is no way that every developer there cared about everything that was announced. I mean, there might be a couple, but every developer there didn't care about everything that was announced. There were probably only a few developers who actually understood everything that was announced or understood the implications. even for developers, I'm willing to bet at this point, WWDC has turned into that long meeting at the office or that long memo that they send out that you're trying to pay attention, and then pretty much you're just listening now for your department or skimming the memo for your name.
I'm giving you a qualified yep.
Okay.
Okay, so the keynote that we watched this morning, that we watched on Monday, I'm working on my nonlinear time
fine.
thing here.
Yeah.
That keynote, as you pointed out, I have said that's as much for the media and the public as it is for anyone else. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me if a non-zero number of developers watch that keynote just to have the 30,000 foot overview, mm-hmm. and they may not be watching it super close. What they care about is the keynote that comes after the State of the Union keynote.
Right.
And so yes, during the big flashy public keynote, they're saying, oh yeah, that matters to me. I'm just listening for my department.
Right.
And then when the State of the Union keynote happens, that's when they're sitting down and they're just focusing on the whole event.
So then in my opening remarks for the Mac user group, I'm going to say, so it's okay if the whole thing left you flat as long as the developer who needed to hear their name heard their name, because they're going to go back to their department and start working on that thing. And one day that's going to change everything about what you do. I
like that.
All right, cool.
And I think for a lot of people that looked at or walked away figuratively from the keynote thinking, I really feel like Apple didn't do much with this. I think that will change over time, because once they actually get to see what these features do for them, they'll have an appreciation for those features. They may still think the keynote was boring for them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the thing, some of the things at least that they saw in the keynote where they're like, that doesn't apply to me, I don't care, that doesn't seem that cool, it'll end up being cool later on.